Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Sarah and today's video is all about understanding how to choose prints in clothes and accessories wisely so that they don't overpower you or just get overlooked in an outfit. And sometimes when they get overlooked or they're not impactful enough on certain people, they can appear to make you look maybe older. Nothing wrong with getting older, of course, but I think it's nice to go through each stage of our life and own that moment and not jump too far ahead into the future, nor try to look younger. And I think prints and patterns in our clothes and our accessories play a big part in that. So I'm going to take you through my main points. There's about 6 of those that I look out for, and they're kind of second nature to me now. I don't have to go through a checklist checking them all. But initially, when you're learning about your own style and what suits you, it is quite a conscious effort to say, okay, have I got this right? Have I got that right? And like everything else, when you put the time and effort into something, it does become second nature and you don't have to overthink it anymore. And that's a wonderful place to be. If you're interested in developing your own identity, reclaiming your identity and figuring out what does that look like when you get dressed for you now and for you in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, do get in touch. I work with people all over the world through my online courses and one-to-one. I'd love to know if you are aware of the prints that you're drawn to. And you might say also that I'm not drawn to prints, that prints tend to overwhelm me, in which case contrast might be too high or the print might be too large. We'll get into that in a little moment. But let me know in the comments below, what are you drawn to in terms of your prints? And if you can name it like a, zebra print or a floral, great. Give us the more information, the better. Let's all learn from this. So the first thing you should look out for is to trust your gut a little bit and figure out why you're drawn to certain prints. They should really make you feel joyful, I think, make you happy, make you feel like there's something exciting about them. If they're just, some average shirt and it's just kind of saying, great, yeah, that'll do, it's not really the bar we want to be setting for ourselves. We want excellence. We want to feel amazing, right? Who doesn't want to feel amazing? So let's set the bar a little bit higher than just feeling, yeah, that's okay. We can do better than that. So that's number 1. Be drawn to the print that you're looking at. It should set your soul on fire a little bit. It should appeal to you. And sometimes there's no words to explain this. It is just a feeling. I get pulled towards certain prints in a strong way. When I like something, I really like it. And this fabric, the coat that I made, was one of those times that I saw the print and I just knew instinctively that it could look amazing in an item of clothing. Now that does come with my background in colour analysis and contrast analysis, all of which I do online with my clients, by the way. So that's number 1. Be excited by the print that you're drawn to. Next of all, you want to be thinking about your own colour palette. Are the colours that exist in that print in your colour palette? If you're not working with a colour palette already, where have you been? What are you doing? I think working with the colour palette is just the most incredible way to start making better choices. It also allows you to be less overwhelmed when you walk into a shop because you can quickly eliminate large sections of clothing and say, those colours are not for me. I'm not even entertaining them. And you go straight to the colours that work for you. So the colours within your print should exist in your colour palette. If you don't know your colour palette, do yourself a favour. Get in touch with me. Let's do an online colour analysis and let's figure it out, because it truly is one of the best ways to start making better decisions about your choices. The next thing that you want to be looking for is the contrast levels that exist in a print. So take this fabric again as an example. So it's very simply a soft black on a soft white. So in other words, these colours, first of all, exist in the winter palette. I'm a winter, so I've ticked that box. Now we're looking at the contrast levels that exist. So black and white is the highest level of contrast. And you should be able to tolerate a high level of contrast if you're choosing something with a black and white pattern. Otherwise, it's going to start overpowering you pretty quickly, and all we're going to see is this bold pattern on you and you will disappear. We don't want that to happen. So what does a lower contrast look like? Well, this scarf here is a good example of a lower level contrast. So we have a couple of different types of blues with a little splash of yellow in there, little tiny bits of white. Overall, it's not a high contrast pattern. And so this will suit somebody better who has low contrast in their features and who need that lower level of contrast. If you have somebody who can tolerate high levels of contrast wearing a low level print, that is when something's out of whack and it can start to look like these clothes belong to an older person. So understanding your contrast levels is extremely important. By the way, if you're enjoying this content, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and thank you for the regulars for being here as well. It's always great to see you. Now let's get back to the video. Now moving on to the size of the print. So the size of a print plays a massive role in whether it's going to suit you or not. Let's take stripes for a moment. A lot of people will be aware of this kind of guideline or rule that says if you're bigger on top, you shouldn't wear a horizontal stripe. You should wear the vertical stripes. And I say take that with a pinch of salt, because I believe anybody can wear anything as long as you understand how to balance your proportions, how to control each of the elements. Let's take a pinstripe, for example. If you have a pinstripe suit or a top, that stripe is barely noticeable and is not going to make an impact on anybody, right? It comes across more or less as a block colour unless you get up close to it. So it's not going to have the same impact as a wider stripe, like a Breton stripe, or even something wider again. So if you are fuller on top and you wear a pinstripe, don't even worry about it. If you're wearing thicker stripes, okay, now it's starting to have a bit more impact and you have to think about it a little bit more carefully. Same with contrast levels. If there's low contrast, not going to have the same visual impact as a high contrast. When we talk about the size of patterns, generally speaking, this is where body shape comes into play, and it's not so much about your colouring anymore. So I would always suggest people to wear patterns that are within their frame or in proportion to their frame and how tall they are. If you are petite, 5'4" and under, a large print is going to be pretty overwhelming, and again, you will just disappear and it will come across as if you're dressing up in your mother's clothes when you were a child. It just looks completely oversized on you. If we reduce that print to something much smaller, now it brings back the proportions. So if you are petite, keep the prints small. The taller you are, the bigger the print you can wear. Now, a bit of your personality is going to dictate this as well. If you are possibly dramatic or creative, you may throw these guidelines out the window and just say, you know what? I'm going with my instincts here for this kind of impactful print. That's what speaks to me most, and that is brilliant. It is great to know what you enjoy, but if you're feeling lost, these guidelines can help. The last thing I'll say about prints and knowing if a print is working for you is where on the body you're wearing it. That plays a massive role as well. The points that I've mentioned previously really pertain to if you're wearing a print close to your face. That is when you really feel that connection or disconnect about whether a pattern works for you or not. If it's in a skirt or in trousers or something a little bit more away from the face, you can tolerate it a little bit more. And I'm speaking in terms of contrast levels particularly here, because I think the size of the print still matters no matter where you place that on the body. So the closer you get to the face, the more of these guidelines you want to be ticking, because that's what we're drawn to. We talk to people, we look them in the eye, hopefully, when we're speaking to them. And so this whole picture here starts to become the main focus. We don't want things to be distracting or overpowering us or creating any kind of negative impact. We're looking for what we wear to enhance how we feel and to complement how we look naturally. That's it for today's video. I do hope you enjoyed it and learned something new, and I'll see you again next week for another video. Take care. Bye bye.